It's the Turbo and 2K show.
What's up, 2K crew? Yes, it is that time of the week again. It is podcast day in 2K's. Man, do we have a great show lined up for you guys and gals tonight. We are obviously talking about March Madness, and we're watching 3 games live here, getting ready to go to 4. And yeah, we're going to be talking about Shohei, some other news, so get locked in. Grab a beer, put us on your phone while you're watching the March Madness. We can all watch it together. And hey, let's have a badass time, 2Ks. What do you say?
Sounds good.
Well, 2Ks, yeah. I mean, overall, I mean, I know you and I were talking before we went live, but what's your bank account looking like so far?
I think I'm actually ahead. It has nothing to do with college basketball though, so I can't win a college basketball bet or a parlay to save my ass. But luckily, I got lucky and hit an NBA parlay last night. Put me back on the top.
Hey.
Put me back in action today, and then today's just kind of par for the course. Back to losing again. Can't win one.
Spoken like a true degenerate, which I love. Thursday and Friday, I was rolling. Could not miss. I missed one, probably 4-leg parlay to start the tournament off, and then just live bet every under at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I hit all but 2, but once those were getting kind of sketchy, I leveraged with an over bet. Both those hit, kind of washed everything out. So yeah, Thursday, great success. Friday, good success, not great, because I figured out you can bet the race to 5.
Sure.
Which I was parlaying 4 of those at a time, and the first 3 would hit. Not that 4th one. Not the 4th one. So I said, you know what? I'm done with these. So about an hour later, I played another one, and the second one missed. So I was really done with those. But yeah, it's same kind of strategy. And then yesterday, wow. Took a gigantic shit.
Mm-hmm.
Could not hit anything. And the ones that were looking good happen to go to overtime. So when you're an underbetter, that's the last thing you want. It's fucking overtime.
Yeah.
But man, you talk about some good basketball so far. Cannot bitch about that. We had an unlikely hero come through, and I cannot remember dude's name from Oakland, but he pretty much shot 3-pointers the entire season.
Yeah.
So when it came to tournament time, it was kind of, even though team is from Michigan, and I believe dude is from Michigan because he played D3 at Hillsdale. And that's one of the best parts about this tournament is players like that, teams like that. I mean, hell, that's how a lot of us got introduced to Steph Curry. We've brought up Jimmer Fredette. I mean, we've brought up a number of guys that have made impacts in the tournament like this. And unfortunately for Oakland, they did go down last night, but one hell of a run. And it's always cool to see those smaller schools kind of do their thing. But speaking of Michigan, 2Ks, you got a new coach.
Yeah.
You got a new coach. This is from Michigan men's basketball. We're proud to announce that Dusty May has been named basically the coach of the basketball team. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts on the new hire? Do you like it? Do you not like it? He comes from Florida Atlantic, correct?
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, hey, you can't argue with what Dusty May has done with Florida Atlantic the last 2 years. Obviously, last year getting them to a Final Four. This year getting them back into the tournament. Look, I know there's a lot of people that don't follow the game as much or think that Michigan just had all access to any head coach, like they were gonna go nab a Calipari or somebody, a big name like that. And it's realistically speaking, I think that this was about as good as they could do, as good as of a coach that obviously was looking to move his way up in the rankings as far as head coaching jobs, and I think they got a good one. I really do.
He's proven it in the tournament. Mm-hmm. Now it's to the point where now this is a big D1 school, a Big Ten school, a big a historic Big Ten school. How's the recruiting going to go? And how long until we have success, which I think is kind of what's on everyone's mind.
I think you're going to see. I think you might kind of see what happens here in the next few days because, or I don't really know exactly how that college basketball transfer portal thing works out, how long it takes until they can start doing things. But I would be shocked if there's a couple guys that don't come along with him.
Sure.
I know he's got three players in his starting five that are going to be graduate seniors now, but have that basically that COVID year where they still have another year of eligibility. None of the three are going to be NBA prospects or anything like that, but very good players were a part of that Final Four team from last year.
Yeah.
So to get through those three guys, because if there's anything that we've noticed here since Howard's been let go, there's a lot of big names and a lot of recruits that have also announced that they're either decommitting or they're entering the transfer portal. So there's definitely openings there. So I think
For sure.
I think you'll see, and a couple. I know one of the guys, that John A. Davis that plays for Florida Atlantic. He actually has ties up to here because he came from northern Indiana. So
Okay.
he's close nearby from around there. A lot of the things I was reading today say that they got a pretty good opportunity to pull all three of those kids up. So
Right.
we'll see what happens.
I tell you what, that'd be kind of a quick rebuild if you put it that way. Cody says all their money goes towards football. Short budget, I think you mean budget, for basketball. Got a funny story about Cody, which for those of you that don't know Cody, I mean if you spend probably 10 minutes with him, there's something funny is going to happen. But I was having kind of troubles coming up with the top 5 list for this week, which are doing top 5 alcoholic beverages. And Cody basically said, "Don't bother me. I'm watching the Bassmaster Classic." to which I responded back, "Wait, you have to be quiet while you're watching a bass tournament too?" And so I didn't know if that was etiquette for watching a tournament, but yeah, I thought it was funny. But no, it really is. It really is. Especially if they can pull some of those guys from Florida Atlantic that have that kind of tournament pedigree, and then it's going to be his program. See what type of dudes he's able to get in there. I think it's a great hire.
I think it's, and the thing about it is, and why I said earlier that Michigan is not an elite college basketball school is, you say what you want about Juwan Howard, and I can sit here and I got plenty to say about how I don't believe that that he was ready for this job, and I think that he was starstruck when he got there as a coach, and it showed in a lot of the games, especially when they lost so many games so close.
Yeah.
But as far as the reasoning why I believe it's not that that elite job for these coaches to take over, it is because when you are a head coach there, you have to work your ass off. You have to develop those players. You have to keep those players. Juwan Howard recruited great. Juwan Howard had guys lined up as far as in that transfer portal, but it came down to the Michigan admissions and not allowing them in. You look at Love, who plays for Arizona now, one of the best players in this tournament. He was lined up to go to Michigan, and it was a whole thing with the admissions. They weren't able to get him in there. At the same time, Terrence Shannon from Illinois, same one. He was committed to go there to transfer there also. Admissions would not allow him in. I think Terrence Shannon is arguably the best player in college basketball this season. I think he's the best player remaining in the tournament right now. I think he's been the best player. He scored 30 last night in the game. I mean, and then Hunter Dickinson leaving. Now you can't tell me that if Shannon and Love end up there, Dickinson's not leaving.
No,
he's staying with them, and so they had the talent and the players there. It's not. It's not.
There goes an over. Or an under.
Yeah. It's the. There's a lot of things that are working against you as far as being the coach there at Michigan, and it's not a premier elite job. Now for Dusty May leaving Florida Atlantic, absolutely it's a step up. It's a step in the right direction, and this is nothing new to him. This is what he did at Florida Atlantic. He had to keep guys. Obviously, we're talking about 3 players that possibility of transferring there. To follow along with him. Those are 3 guys that have played, and they're going to be grad seniors now. So that tells you right there, he keeps guys. He's able to develop them. And I mean, if you go back to when Michigan was really, really good, look at all the players that John Beilein developed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the reason why John Beilein left and tried to dabble with the NBA and obviously didn't work, but the reason why he leaves is look at all the guys that he developed and made them what they were. and they left early on him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think he was kind of fed up with where basketball was going and how all these guys are leaving, because at the end of the day, Beeline had probably a dozen players that left early to go to the NBA in his tenure. How many of them panned out in the NBA? 1, 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think he was frustrated with it, but that's the key to being able to build a program that's going to be in this tournament at a school like Michigan is you have to coach and recruit kids in that you can develop and that you can keep for 2, 3, 4 years. You can't you're never going to be able to hang with the one and done, recruits.
Ask Calipari.
Mm-hmm.
Ask Calipari. Cody says, damn GPA requirements, quote unquote, academics are the standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some other news 2Ks. Let's touch on our bracket challenge here. And I do apologize. You're probably not going to be able to read a damn bit of that, but let me get logged in here. Let's see. Number 1, we've got Jay Newell. Jay has Purdue winning it. Number 2 is Rich Thornburg with Houston, and we have a two-way tie for 3rd. You and your dad. He has Houston, and you have UConn. And then a whole slew of teams tied for 5th, and your boy is tied for 9th. So not looking good over here on this side of the desk, but you know what? Still plenty of basketball left.
There's a lot of basketball left.
You know, this is what makes it fun. This is what makes it fun. So kudos to you, Jay, for leading the way here on the early bit. But yeah, 2K is probably the best, not the best, the biggest news dropped. I believe it was Thursday, whatever it was. Shohei Ohtani and his interpreter got into a bunch of trouble. And I'm not going to go over the timeline here because I'm pretty sure by now everyone knows it. I'm not saying knows what's going on because I'm pretty sure no one knows what's going on. But yeah, it's lots of question marks. We were talking about it, before we went live, and what stands out to me the most is, yes, this is an illegal gambling ring that they're participating in, or he is. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I know a ton of bookies or have direct contact with any of them because hell, it's illegal here in Michigan. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the interpreter makes $200,000 a year. I don't know too many just people, let alone bookies, that are going to extend a $4.5 million credit line to this dude without knowing that his money's good because it's backed by somebody. Mm-hmm. And I think we all know who that somebody is. So whether Shohei was involved, betting wise, I think this gun is smoking way too hot and way too bright to be like he had absolutely no knowledge of any of this. And again, these are just my personal opinions. And before everyone comes at me and goes, "Oh, Turbo, you're just jealous he went to the Dodgers. You're just jealous about his contract." No, I wish he would have given the Red Sox an opportunity with that type of contract. That'd have been awesome. But you and I have been two of the biggest Shohei fans. I mean, how can you not like what the dude does on the field? This here is a whole other, this is apples to oranges conversation here. And when it came out and then they changed the story and now there was an interview with the interpreter solely to ESPN that they've stopped. It's never going to see the light of day because Shohei's legal team came out and said, no, he stole $4.5 million from Shohei. Mm-hmm. And like you brought up before we went live, how does an interpreter have access to Shohei's accounts where he can wire money? We're not talking about stealing, money out of his glove box, paying cash. We're talking about a wire transfer. Mm-hmm. Now, me personally, never done a wire transfer. Never really needed to. So I'm not sure what exactly goes into that, but I'm pretty sure you would need some sort of identification, at least sending that amount of money. I'm pretty sure they didn't send it Western Union. I'm sure there's a little bit more sophisticated means of doing things than that. But it's a bad look. It's a bad look not only for Shohei and old buddy, but it's a bad look for the Dodgers. Now, there's a lot of people that are saying that the Dodgers knew about this, which is why they put it, or they knew about the gambling issues, problems, I guess, however you want to paint it, of the interpreter, which is why they did the contract the way they did so that he wouldn't have access to this money. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. And then and on top of that, it was he actually went to college, supposedly, allegedly, in the States, and someone on Twitter went in and actually contacted I can't remember. I probably should have screenshotted that, but yeah, they reached out to said university, and he's never attended there.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling we're just getting the tip of the iceberg of this whole thing, and everyone's waiting on pins and needles on Monday when Shohei actually has his presser, I guess you want to call it. And man, what a huge first gig for that new interpreter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You had better cross your T's and dot your I's really fucking good, because this is the biggest press conference of Shohei's life.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. and when situations like this come about, I hate to be the one that really reacts to these allegations. I like to let things go. I know we're going to speak. We're basically media, so we people want to hear us react on things. But I hate being that person that reacts before you get the whole story, before you see. But what I keep coming back to in this is it's just a terrible look. It's there hasn't been a steady story yet. Things have changed. And to me, when things start to go that way, and then like you see the video of the day that all this happens, and the two of them are in the dugout chumming it up, laughing and carrying on, and if Shohei, no, I mean, obviously if this happened just a couple of hours after the game, Shohei knows this, and I can't imagine that you would be chumming it up in the dugout with somebody that just stole $4.5 million from you,
right?
So when things like this happen, it's like it's not adding up, and unfortunately, because I've been a huge Shohei fan. I'm not a fan of either one of the teams that he's played for, but I've been a huge fan of him, and I've sat here and said over and over again, he's the best fucking baseball player I've ever seen. Yeah. So that's what sucks in this is I don't want to see him miss time. I don't want to see him possibly not be able to come back from this. I don't want to see that kind of stuff happen, and I hope that it doesn't get that far. But the way that things are going and the way that things have been handled to this point, I would be shocked if something major doesn't come out of this.
And I think what you're alluding to, and if not, please tell me, because I'm just going to throw it out there. Old buddy was a pawn. He was a Ponzi.
100%. That's 100. That's the first thing that I said when all this news came out in the very beginning. And I think that's why the Dodgers and all this, the story has kind of they're kind of backtracking. In my opinion, and that's the feeling that I get, is they're kind of backtracking on the beginning of this cover-up attempt, because I think they know that everybody's calling bullshit.
Right. And rightfully so, because nothing adds up. There's not a straight story that we've heard the whole time. Now, if this was any other player, say it's a player on the Twins that no one gives a fuck about, this isn't that big of a story, because Shohei is the face of the MLB right now.
100%.
And I have a very good feeling that said player from the hypothetical player from the Twins, he'd be done.
Yeah,
there wouldn't be any investigation, and this is going back to, if you remember, at the beginning, either the end of the NFL season last year or the beginning of this year, with a lot of there's a couple Lions players, a couple Colts players, we saw with Ridley. This is sports betting is the future for a lot of the funds that come into these organizations, and I went down the Twitter rabbit hole, and now there's some folks that have supposedly tracked some of these performances that he's done, and they're actually linking it to throwing games. Now, am I saying it's going that far? No.
Mm-hmm.
No. I would absolutely be blown away if someone in this day and age is trying to throw games.
Sure.
No matter what the sport is.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what the sport is. And for someone like him who has that much to lose, that's the part
And
I don't get.
And to me, like, when I guess when I hear that is like, if there's one guy in Major League Baseball that we've watched that we can say is definitely not throwing games, we can talk about the guy that has been the best player in baseball. We're talking about the best player in baseball, and it's not even close.
All eyes are on
he's
him.
Done. Absolutely.
All eyes are
and what he's done, and just look at the numbers.
Yeah.
They're unbelievable.
Yeah, if it's Joe Schmo from the Angels and he's quote unquote throwing games as a pitcher, that team's terrible. You're never going to get caught. I shouldn't say never, because we live in a digital world now. Shit can be tracked.
Oh, absolutely.
Shit can be tracked.
Absolutely.
And I think ultimately that's going to I'm not going to say save Shohei's bacon, but the fact that sports gambling from your phone is illegal in California, they can't track where this account logged in from. Where like the Lions players, they could tell exactly where they were. I mean, they were inside the facility. They could see that. So having to do it kind of black market style, I think.
Right.
I mean, just spitballing here, folks, because like I said, we don't know shit from fuck on this, but it would be easier for whichever, because it's not just MLB doing this investigation. It's the FBI. It's a lot of other things, because it is an illegal gambling ring, and the guy that runs it has been in some hot water before. So it's a huge black eye to the MLB, and I honestly, I'm not saying this like I said because I'm a jaded fan. It's because if you look back on the wrist slaps that a lot of these guys got from the steroid era, MLB cannot have that again.
Right.
This is, I mean, granted, steroids were illegal, 100%. This is above and beyond, because now you're talking about not only losing fans because of this, but you're going to be losing, because, I mean, if all of a sudden this is quote unquote okay, there's not going to be a single one of these books that are going to be able to do business with the MLB because it's tainted. And whether he gambled on baseball, which allegedly he didn't, it was football, soccer, and some other shit, but was quote allegedly never baseball. But you know what? Every professional athlete before every season has the same spiel. You cannot do this. Now,
this isn't his first year in the States. I mean, he's heard the drill. He knows how it goes. So, and that's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter. The rules are what they are, and it's straight across the board.
Yep.
And you know that regardless if it's not baseball or whatever sport that you're involved in, you can't bet on it.
Yep. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for you to do that after your career, and you'll have a lot more money to make a lot more splashes if you want to.
You signed a deal for $700 million. What do you? I mean, what fun is there?
Right.
How is there any fun to even bet? Like, you're good.
But yeah, what does Cody say here? FBI has been watching bookie, informed Dodgers when Ohtani's name popped up. Exactly. And so yeah, I mean, it's if you're a Dodgers fan, you're sick to your stomach. Because if there is any link between him and this bookie, you got to throw the Pete Rose treatment at him, hands down. I mean, yes, it is a huge loss for baseball. It's a huge loss for fans, but it's one of those things, like I said, to continue these relationships, to continue to better the game financially. Is it better is it baseball better when Shohei's in it? Absolutely,
100%.
But it's you can't do that.
They already set the stage with Pete Rose, and Pete Rose was a fucking manager when it was all going down. He wasn't even a player anymore. Yeah. So,
and if this just gets swept under the rug by MLB like they did with the steroids, you're going to lose so many fans. So many fans.
In a sport that's already losing them.
Yes. They They financially they can't afford it, publicly they can't afford it, and just overall, sports cannot afford that. Because if this happens with Shohei, name NBA player X over here who's doing the same goddamn thing, and I'm using the NBA because there's a lot of foreign players in the NBA,
Right,
and
right.
if this little, the interpreter is indeed a Ponzi, how many other interpreters are around sport? And basketball has some of the most diverse when it comes to European, Asian players. I mean, so that's kind of the reason I threw that out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like in baseball, really only the Asian guys have interpreters. The Spanish speaking folks do not. So, but yeah, this is something that just can't happen, and there has to be a precedent set. So, Rob Manfred, you got a big job ahead of you, because you are not going to be loved by a very, very large part of the fan base. But if this is swept under the rug, you're going to be hated by a bigger section of the fan base. And on top of that, if they do sweep it under the rug, the Dodgers win 3 out of the next 5 World Series, you're going to have folks saying it's going to be an asterisk next to them.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just creating more drama than what you're really, really wanting to bring. And let's see who did this. Oh, we got Kyler. It says, I think you see different treatment when it comes to losing the face of a sport. But Kyler, that's the problem. He is the face of the sport. And if this is there has to be a precedent set somewhere. And unfortunately, this has got to be it. This has got to be it. But if it comes out that he has no knowledge of this or any of this, then move on.
Yeah.
Move on. No harm, no foul.
My question is, does anything even get taken care of this season?
No.
I don't think so either.
No.
I don't think so. I don't think this year is even in. This will be something that will be. You'll hear about it all season long, because it's. I mean, we're like Kyler just said, we're talking about the face of the sport, and there's no arguing that, and it's just. I just don't see this going away anytime soon, and I think it's gonna be, unfortunately, a story all season long of something that we don't want to hear about.
Yeah. Cody says, time for Trout to step back up. I would be.
Got to be healthy.
I would be a huge fan of that, my guy. Huge fan of that. Well, 2Ks, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk some hoops. Let's go back to Thursday.
But just kind of to wrap a bow on that, and I agree that Shohei is the face of baseball right now, but there's a lot of other really, really good young talent coming, and
they're here.
Yeah.
So
I think
the only difference is they don't hit and pitch.
Yeah.
That's
and this season Shohei wasn't going to do it, but I don't know. Obviously you're going to be basically impossible to find anybody better than him, or more valuable to a team than Ohtani, but there's a lot of really good players coming up that I think. And that's the unfortunate thing, is I'd rather hear about them than hear about this shit going on.
Or just hear about, how great Shohei is, and now he's on the biggest stage in LA. I mean, that storyline writes itself. This is it sucks when this, that this happened, period. It sucks even more when it's coming out, a week before opening day. It sucks on a whole other level when they were in Korea, weren't they? And when all this hit the fan. So this was calculated when it was going to come out. I mean, you can't argue that. You can't argue that. But what does it say? This is the curse I get for trashing the Cowboys so much. Bauer, Showtime, Michigan, Brady times 3. Well, you know what? It is. Kyler, I was. Yeah. In my heart, I hope that this is just strictly the interpreter's deal.
Yeah.
But my brain's telling me it's not.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of where I am with it too. But in other news, this is another funny one. We were talking about betting, and we've been talking about Ohtani betting. Well, I bet on the fucking Dodgers and Padres game 2. because it was Thursday. It was the day of the tournament. So the first, and they're playing. I'm basically just waking up for work when the game is starting. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna throw in a bet real quick, just see if I can make some money.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna bet 4 guys in this game for 2 total bases. And if you would have told me the game was gonna end 15-12, I would have said, I'm definitely hitting on this. There were 2 total bases. Mookie Betts hit it. He had the home run. Bogarts and Tatis both hit on it. My only one that did not hit on that was Freddie Freeman.
Oh.
How the fuck does Freddie Freeman only get one total base in that game?
He knew you were betting.
In a 15-12 game.
Yeah.
If you were just scrolling through scores and you saw that the Dodgers had 12 runs, because that was the one that the Padres won that game. But if you look and you see the Dodgers have 12 runs, you're thinking Freddie at least has a double in that game.
Yeah.
At least.
Oh, yeah. And for those on the books, let's make a walk a fucking base, please.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah. But anyway,
I've always said too, like a total base should be like, and when a runner gets on, if they steal,
yeah,
if you get a stolen base, that should be.
Yeah, why not? I agree. But yeah, bookies, figure it out.
And the odds on it would completely change though.
Sure. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Well, 2K is Thursday. Well, before we get into, since we're talking about betting, it's going to go right into what we're talking about on Thursday and Friday here. If you guys and gals watch TikTok at all, and if your algorithm is anything close to mine, which I doubt, because I watch some weird shit on there, but there's been a handful of guys on there that I've seen, one in particular, who at the start of the tournament bet $100 money line on each underdog. After Thursday, old buddy was up like $700. After Friday, total was up about $2,400. And these numbers could be skewed either way because I'm just going off memory here. And then after yesterday, dude was down minus $700. So we saw some dogs barking Thursday and Friday. Saturday went almost pretty much all it did go all chalk.
Mm-hmm.
It did go all chalk.
Very, very close games.
Yes.
You think of the 2 overtime games, very easily Oakland could have taken that game. Mm-hmm. And then looking at the Oregon Creighton game, Creighton goes on to win that game by like 12 in the second overtime, but Oregon is the one in regulation of that game that had the shot at the buzzer. It was a very good look. Yeah. That very easily could have went down. So could have been a whole different outcome on the day, but yeah, that was straight across the board.
And today seems like it's the day of
blowouts. Yeah.
Aside from the Marquette game, it seems they're very lopsided games. But let's rewind to Tuesday or Thursday 2Ks. Not sure what order ESPN put these in. I had it down east and west, north and south. But we're going to throw that out because it's starting off with Wagner, North Carolina. Pretty much went exactly how we thought. I think one of the biggest takeaways from this tournament is after this year, Armando Bacot will no longer be a Tar Heel. It seems like he's been there longer than Tyler Hansborough, which I know is impossible because Hansborough was there for at least a decade. Joking, obviously, but moving on, Long Beach State, Arizona. Arizona takes that one pretty easily. Iowa State, South Dakota State. This Iowa State team, dude, I like them a lot.
And they flat out play defense.
I like them a lot.
And I know I'm kind of fast forwarding through things here, but that Iowa State Illinois matchup here in the Sweet 16, I believe you have the best player in the tournament in Terrence Shannon for Illinois, and then you have maybe the best guard defenders in Iowa. Iowa State flat out plays defense. That game very, very intriguing to me.
Yes, I 100% agree. I have fallen in love with Iowa State, and they quite possibly could be a Final Four team.
Oh, 100%.
Defense travels.
Problem is that region is a bitch. I mean, you have UConn in that and because I think the winner of Illinois and Iowa State have a legitimate shot to get to the Final Four. The problem is their next game after that is going to be probably UConn.
Right. Which kind of scrolling ahead here, UConn has been as advertised. As advertised. St. Peter's, Tennessee. Tennessee takes care of that one handily. Akron and Creighton. This game was kind of close in the beginning. Creighton just did their thing. Your team, Illinois, took down Morehead State quite handily. Oakland, the big upset so far, Oakland over Kentucky. And
Mr. Golke.
Yeah, Mr. Golke. I tell you what, dude looks like he's 35. Looks like he should be in a really creepy 80s movie. And after this game, I think the world found out that on the regular season, dude has shot like 353s and like 4 2-pointers, which I have a feeling were very close. It might have been like foot on the line threes. So again, this is the gentleman we were referring to in the beginning of the show. This is what March Madness is about. Now, to kind of dig a little deeper on this game, 2Ks, 2 out of the last 3 years, Coach Cal has lost to a double-digit seed. And there was so many folks that are like, man, he's got to go. He's got to go.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that says that he's got to go, I think is overreacting big time. Now, does he need to change some things about him? Because I think he's changed himself. I mean, when you think of when he was really, really good, when he was his really good Memphis teams, and then when he got to Kentucky, his good teams that he had there, they were tough. Yeah. They played really good defense. They rebounded the ball. They were physical. And that's one thing. Like, when you look at Kentucky this year, they're very, very athletic. They want to go. They can score. They can score 100 on you on any given night. But they don't play very good defense. Yeah. And
this is the top scoring team that Calipari's had at Kentucky.
And when you play in a game where and all it takes is a kid like Golke to come out of nowhere and knock down 10 threes. And that's obviously, if a team has a player that knocks down 10 threes, they're going to be in the game.
Yes.
So they were in the game with them. And then when it come down to the end, when Kentucky needed to make a stop on defense, because they were hitting shots in the end, but then they could not stop Oakland on the other end of the floor. And that's when, those hard-nosed teams, those teams that are tough and are built to win this tournament, they normally are able in the last, after you get past that last TV timeout, when you need a team to buckle down, you think of like the Jay Wright Villanova teams, when you need that team to buckle down and make 3 or 4 consecutive stops, that's what this Kentucky team, they didn't have that identity. They were, very, very athletic, get out and go, put up a lot of points, but when they needed to make stops, they couldn't do it. And
college basketball needs Jay Wright back, by the way.
Yeah.
Bad. But yeah, that was on top of that, 2K Crew, if you take a look at his contract, the buyout's $33 million right now. Not saying that Kentucky doesn't have it, not to say that they couldn't get it, but that's
you're going to get better.
A ton of money.
That's what I keep coming back to. And Michigan gets rid of Howard and they hire Dusty May, and I thought it was a fucking knock out of the park to get him to hire him. And that's Dusty May. A lot of people don't even fucking know who he is. And in Kentucky and what they have going, and they're one of the blue bloods. So that would be a job that obviously a lot of people would be interested in going there. A lot more people would be interested in that job than the Michigan basketball job.
Get Jay Wright out of retirement.
And Jay Wright has made it very, very clear. If Jay Wright had if he had anything in the tank and he wanted to be a coach, he can basically name outside of about 3 programs in college basketball, he could step in and he would take that job. Him not taking a job now for 2 years, 3 years, tells me one thing. He's done. He doesn't want to do it.
And he could handpick the school and pretty much write the check.
But as far as like these people that think that Calipari needs to go and on, it's such a fucking overreaction. Like, you're not going to get anybody better, in my opinion. I don't think it's happening.
I agree. And like I said, $33 million is a lot of money. Next game on the docket, Kansas handles Samford. This game was a lot closer than I think a lot of folks were kind of penciling in here.
That game was flat out awesome to watch. Now it was the late game on Thursday night, and I sat up and watched the whole thing.
Your boy Dickinson had.
It was like 105.
Badass game.
Yeah, it was like 105 when it got over. But that was a fun game to watch, and there was a huge blown call at the end where a kid for Samford goes up and blocks it with like 16 seconds to go. Samford would have got the ball back, only down 1, and they called it a foul, and it was not a fucking foul. But they call it a foul, so Kansas gets the ball now. Kansas knocks down the 2 free throws. Samford gets the ball back down by 3 with 16 seconds left. it would have been a 1-point game, would have been a completely different game, and we could have been looking at another upset.
But everyone was worried about Kansas's depth because of the injuries, and I will foreshadow here a little bit. Yesterday, they completely ran out of gas.
Mm-hmm.
Completely ran out of gas. McNeese State, I was very high on them. Very high on them. 2Ks gets drubbed by Gonzaga.
And
Gonzaga tough.
They look very tough. They were kind of a team that, obviously they've had huge expectations in recent years, then to live up to them a lot of the time. But man, you start talking about, Jay Wright and how good of a head coach he is. Mark Few, you have to fucking give him credit that he knows how to get teams into this tournament, get them ready for this tournament, and kind of a team this year that had maybe they'll play, or to this point they've played better. And maybe it's because they don't have those expectations.
Yeah.
They just going in. Nobody's even really thinking about them. And to this point right now, after 2 rounds, make an argument that they've, outside of maybe Kansas or Purdue and UConn, they might be one of the teams that looks the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shock. I mean, it comes to a shock to me because if you watched any kind of media leading up to this, there were so many experts picking McNeese State over Gonzaga is like a huge upset, and they got dog walked. Duquesne takes down BYU, another upset of the day. This Duquesne team was fun to watch.
Yeah, that one honestly didn't shock me. I didn't think BYU was very good.
Me either.
So that one wasn't really a big shock. It was one of those games where when you look at it, when you're, before it even starts, you're filling out a bracket, you're betting on it, whatever. It was one of those that you just believe could go either way, and it wouldn't shock you either way.
Cody says, so happy the Knicks are NBA Villanova. Yeah. Can't go wrong with those Nova kids, that's for sure. Oregon takes out South Carolina for another upset. 87-73. This Oregon team, what did their game end up today? Is that still going or no?
Oregon today. Oregon played last night. They got beat by Creighton.
Okay. My days and teams running together, 2Ks.
Easy to do this time.
Yes. Another upset, NC State over Texas Tech. I don't think I watched much of that one. Dayton over Nevada. The 10-7s usually have me wavering both ways, especially with 2 teams that I really didn't see at all this year.
Nevada just blew this game. I mean, they were ahead by 16-17 and with like 10 minutes to go in the game, 11 minutes to go in the game, and they just completely fucking derailed. I mean, they lost it, and Dayton just came back and ended up winning this game. A close one in the end, but to me, the story about that game is just how bad Nevada just blew it.
And big shout out to Dan Patrick's Dayton Flyers. Big shout out. Texas takes out Colorado State. Not a big shocker there. Washington State over Drake. Now there was some rumors, 2Ks.
There's a lot of people saying that Drake was a team that could make a Sweet 16 run this season, and they just really. I watched a lot of that game because I kind of bought into the Kool-Aid on that, listening to some pretty well-respected names that were really talking them up like they could make a run. And I stayed up and watched a few minutes of that game and was not impressed. Was not impressed at all with them.
Now there was a rumor going around that what's the best way to put this? A team name that has some sort of penis association with it. Because you had Fairleigh Dickinson. Trying to remember the other one, but this would have been 3 years in a row that a penis inspired, or not really inspired, but kind of a takeoff of it. So you had Longwood, and some folks were putting Drake into that because of the Drake video with his massive hog. So neither one hit. So maybe the wiener theory is kind of going out the
hasn't not been a year for the wieners.
No. And if Drake's hog couldn't get him past Washington State, then maybe it's not as cool as we thought. Probably the biggest shocker on this whole board, 2Ks, is Michigan State.
Yeah, there was people 8-9 obviously, game can go either way, and I heard it, people talking that Mississippi State would have their way, and at Michigan State there's no consistency this year, no big wins, and Michigan State looked really, really good in this opener.
Yeah, and that point guard of theirs, he's legit.
Yes, he is.
He's legit. So again, I'm not saying it's Izzo time. Let's give it.
Well,
just stop.
And Michigan State's got they have 3 or 4 kids that were pretty solid for them. I think what they ran into yesterday, and I mean, we're fast forwarding again, but yesterday in the North Carolina game was Michigan State's depth really showed. They don't have the depth, and North Carolina had a lot of depth. And you get to that last, because Michigan State goes on a little bit of a run to start the second half. They tighten the game. They make it like a 4 or 5 point game, and then all of a sudden North Carolina just kind of went on a run, and then they just kind of coasted the rest of the way, and you could just tell Michigan State was tired. Like I said, 2-3 players that can match up with them talent-wise, but then really just no depth. And then Baycott kind of was having his way. Michigan State didn't have a big that can match up with them, and just in the end, we're not able to knock down enough shots. But I watched that Mississippi State game. Obviously, it was the first game of the day on Thursday, and they were impressive. They were very impressive.
Yeah. I was honestly shocked because just the way that Clemson Baylor, I did hit that.
Nice.
I thought it was 135 and a half. I had 136 and a half. Nice. But yeah, I was thoroughly impressed. I was like, where's it again? It goes back to your consistency thing. Where's this team been all year? And especially with I'm just gonna say it, the poor play that they had in the Big Ten, and
in a season when the Big Ten was not very good.
No,
I mean, yeah, you have your top teams in Purdue and Illinois, who I think are really good, and I think both of them legitimately could be a Final Four possible champion at the end of this. But after that, it was a very, very bad season for the Big Ten as a whole.
Well, 2K's Friday started out UConn, and I didn't start out with UConn Stetson, but that's where we're starting out on the ESPN page here. UConn handles Stetson pretty easily, kind of like we thought. Purdue handles Grambling. Edie has,
which is a big step for Purdue.
Yes,
it's a big step for them to.
And I like the way that the committee put Purdue in Indianapolis for the first 2 games. They have a home game, so if they lose this one, there's not an excuse. Not an excuse. But Edie had a day, dude. 30 points, 21 rebounds, 3 blocks. Again, today had another gigantic game. Didn't play a whole lot in the second half because he really didn't need to. Houston handles Longwood. Another penis joke in there, but that was the penis bet I made 2Ks. I took Longwood over Houston plus 2,200. Figured, you know what? I'll sprinkle a couple bucks on a Longwood. But continue on, Marquette over Western Kentucky. Kind of another kind of chalk game there, which you would expect for a 215. Baylor over Colgate. At the time, Baylor was the top scoring team here until we get to another one down here a little bit. Yale over Auburn. This is the one that killed one of my brackets. I was very high on Auburn.
Hard not to be with the way that they played down the stretch there, going into the tournament. Make an argument to being one of the hottest teams in college basketball, and it was a disappointing game. I thought that they were just very, very outplayed, and to lose that game to Yale, who I don't think is anybody to write home about. Kind of an embarrassment for Auburn.
Yeah, definitely not Bruce Pearl's best showing, but
loses one of his better guards in the beginning. For just a stupid play. Like what do you do? You're behind the ball and you're just gonna throw an elbow. For no reason. And on the biggest stage, it just didn't. It was just a very, very poor judge of. I don't know. It was just a very, very bad play.
And there was a lot of folks that were saying that Auburn was kind of a fugazi because they didn't play like the top 2 or 3 teams in the SEC throughout that tournament, or even so. One could say that they were hot, but were unproven going into this. So maybe that had something to do with it. But when old buddy got tossed, I'm like, okay, this is either gonna seal the deal for Auburn, or they're gonna come together and rally and win the game for this dude.
Mm-hmm.
And the first was the outcome there. Duke over Vermont, Alabama over Charleston. This Alabama team, dude, they can score.
Oh, they can score. They can't play any defense though. And
when you let Charleston score 96, there's.
I've been watching it here because it's going on right now, and it's been fairly close. Alabama's got a lead right now on Grand Canyon, but the shots are not falling for Alabama in today's game. They're not scoring near as many points, and so that game's close, and I think it can go either way right now. I think it's only, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's only a 4-point game.
What do we got for a score on that?
This is going to blow you away when you think of the 109 to 96. Right now, there's 9 minutes to go in the second half, and it's 50 to 44.
All right. I think I locked in an under on that as well because
I did too, because it was 171 and a half. I was like, no way, I'm taking under.
Yeah. San Diego State over UAB. Close game there. Don't know anything about either one of those teams. But then we have the Pardon My Take Bowl here, 2Ks. We got PFT's James Madison going up against Big Cats Wisconsin, and Wisconsin looked terrible.
I thought Wisconsin was so overrated this year.
Mm-hmm. Stanford Steed had them in the Final Four.
Yeah, I thought they were so overrated. You look at their record going into the tournament, 22-14. We talked about it earlier. Not the Big Ten, not the best year for the Big Ten. One of Michigan's 2 wins in the Big Ten was over them.
Yeah.
So just not impressed with them at all. James Madison, I think going into this tournament obviously the conference is not very good, but I think going into the tournament was on the longest winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously a team that knows how to win, and really got the lead early in that one, and
never looked back.
Never looked back. Yeah, it was just an easy win for him.
I tweeted to PFT asking if he has the biggest hard on right now because he actually, and because baseball is dead, is coming back Monday. Shout out to Jared and the boys. Cannot wait to hear the new episode. But I've been listening to a lot of Pardon My Take, and PFT was in a wedding on Friday, left the wedding in his tux, went to the game. So he was dressed to the nines to watch his James Madison be victorious. So he's gonna. I'm actually looking forward to Monday's episode just to see the banter between those two, because like we said before, PFT is about the only reason to watch or listen to that podcast. So,
the only downfall for PFT going into tomorrow morning's episode of listening to that is they completely laid a fucking egg today.
Yeah. Playing Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. And keep cruising here. We got Grand Canyon over St. Mary's, so it's back-to-back dogs there, 2Ks. Clemson over New Mexico. In a wild one, Colorado over Florida, 102 to 100. I bet you if you would have asked any one of these teams in the whole 64, if you score 100 points in the first round, you think you're gonna win? Yeah.
This was maybe the best game I've watched in the tournament so far. Just both of these teams had some great players, and it was unfortunate at the end of this game that one of these teams had to lose. Both of them played so fucking good, and it was just a back and forth, exciting game all the way through. And you're looking here, it was tied at halftime. And then they 57 and 55 in the second half. So not a lot of defense being played, but it was just an awesome game to play. And for me, I know from if I'm watching a college basketball game in this tournament, I want to see fucking points.
Yeah. And again, another 10-7 matchup. Northwestern over Florida Atlantic. This Northwestern team, 2Ks, is sneaky. I like them.
Yeah,
I like them.
It's they're running into just they win this game in overtime. It was a great game. It went to overtime, and then Northwestern just had their way with Florida Atlantic in the overtime. But it's unfortunate for Northwestern that tonight they run into UConn, who do a lot of people they're the best team in college basketball. They were odds-on favorite by a long shot to win it all.
Yep.
So I don't think that I think their tournament is over here in a few more minutes, but in a year where the Big Ten was not very good, like we've said over and over, Northwestern was one of those teams that not a top team, but a very, very legit team.
Yeah.
And in recent years hasn't been that team for the Big Ten. They normally are matched up in the bottom of the standings every year, and this year made it into the tournament as with an at-large bid. So
yeah,
kudos to them.
We've got A&M over Nebraska, and then to wrap up. Friday, Utah State over TCU. This TCU team, a lot of folks had had them going quite a long ways. But again, 8-9 matchup. Never know. Even though historically, I think the 9 has had the advantage over the 8. So yeah, big storyline for Thursday and Friday. 2Ks. Dogs are barking. We go to Saturday. Not the case. We've already talked about Michigan State getting steamrolled by North Carolina. Arizona kind of has their way with Dayton. And let's see, Iowa State over Washington State. Game was a little closer than what I thought it was going to be. But they come away with a big dub. This Tennessee team I really like over Texas. Another close game. Illinois over Duquesne, pretty substantial. Creighton over Oregon. The Zags, like we talked about Gonzaga, Kansas just ran out of gas.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas was up 44-43 at halftime, and they lose 89-68. They are outscored 46-24 in the second half.
Kansas was just very, very. Gonzaga exploited how bad defensively they are. And say a lot of good things about Hunter Dickinson and what he can do on the offensive side of the floor, but the reason why he will never play in the pros is because he cannot play defense. And Gonzaga they made him look really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't play defense. And so if he's got to defend an athletic post or he's got to defend a pick and roll, he cannot do that. And it showed. And Gonzaga with Mark Few, we talked about earlier, one of the best coaches in college basketball. He knows that Hunter Dickinson can't defend that,
yeah.
and there's a reason why that's what they did, and they just flat out worked Kansas in this game.
And to wrap it up here, NC State over Oakland. Thought it was cool, just 11-14 seeds getting to shine out, and this ultimately came down to Oakland pretty much could not buy a bucket in overtime. Mm-hmm. The magic had run out, if you want to consider consider it that way.
And you can make an argument here with those two teams that maybe the highlight of the postseason so far. I mean, NC State plays themselves through the ACC championship. They win it. They get their coach is on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
Their coach is on the hot seat. There's a chance that he's not coming back, and they are able to get hot at the right time. They win that tournament. They get in. Then you have Oakland. Oakland beats Kentucky, a blue blood. The John Calipari coach team. And Oakland has a kid that comes off the bench and knocks down 10 threes.
Yeah.
And gets into this game, and this game goes to overtime. It was awesome game to watch. I mean, we're in the state of Michigan. Obviously, I was sitting there rooting for Oakland to pull it off and win another one. And very easily could have went that way, but it didn't. But it was just kudos to Oakland, kudos to North Carolina State. To me, maybe the best story so far in this tournament is is that Oakland and NC State game last night. Yeah,
I 100% agree. 100% agree. And when I can get Kristen excited about basketball, that's a huge win. It's a huge win. But going on today, like you said, we've got Alabama, Grand Canyon going on right now. Bama's up 55-50. Excuse me. UConn over Northwestern, 51-27. And Houston and Texas A&M are locked at 11 early on in the first half. And yeah, all right, vent time. Can we get fucking quarters in these? I know we kind of talked about it last week, but this is really irritating. Get quarters.
Yeah.
Halves do not speed up the game. There are so many TV timeouts and everything else in these stupid games that no. You are not going to buy me with that argument.
We just had it because we're running 3 games at a time on the screen here, and at one time all 3 games were at a commercial. That should not that can't happen, and I agree with you. You have a TV timeout every 4 minutes. The last 2 minutes of a close ball game take 25-30 minutes. There's things that I think can be changed with this that make it a little bit easier on us to watch, and 4 quarters makes a hell of a lot more sense to me than 2 halves.
It's the only basketball that's played in halves anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm venting, sports books, can you make it so I don't have to log in every single time? Figure it out. It's me. It's still the same me.
Yes.
Figure it out. Coming up here in a little bit, we've got Yale and San Diego State. Some of the games that have gone final. Purdue just boat races Utah State. EB has another badass day. Like I said, he didn't play the vast majority of the second half, so which is probably the best scenario for Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a big dude. He's in a lot better shape this year than he has been in the previous years. But the more time you can get him off of his feet in these back-to-backs or short amount of time, probably better. Marquette over Colorado, Clemson over Baylor, and Duke over James Madison. So did have some close ones, but it started out the day. Purdue big win, Duke big win. Couple closer games with Clemson, Baylor, Marquette, Colorado, and it's shaping up to another beat down by UConn. So going to be interesting to see where some of these games go. But yeah, 2Ks, I'm right there with you with the pretty much the standout of the tournament so far is Oakland. And I mean, hell, I'm pretty sure there wasn't a single dude after day one that was getting more requests to be on shows or to talk to so and so than old buddy, and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's without this tournament we would have never known about him. And kind of the shitty part is after this we'll probably never hear from him again. But yeah, that's the reason why this tournament is so much fun. Teams like that, players like that, especially when the dude transfers from a D3 school to Oakland and has his biggest game in the biggest spot and pretty much wills his team to win over a Kentucky team that a lot of folks had really, really high.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's we got a tie ball game, 55-55.
Mm-hmm. So I've been
Grand Canyon, Alabama. So, and that's one of the things 2Ks with these high scoring teams is I'm assuming a lot of it has to do with 3-point shooting or just volume of shooting.
Sure. And
when you have an off night, this is what can happen. Defense travels. Very rarely do you have an off night. The whole entire team has an off night playing defense. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that one because I have another bet. I need Alabama under 87.5. So that's looking pretty good at 55 with 6 minutes left to go. So 2Ks, let's jump into our. Is there anything else you want to wrap up about the tournament thus far besides the fact that you're broke?
Yeah, well, I have one that's I'm keeping my eye on right now. I need 2 rebounds out of a guy for Grand Canyon. Other than that, everything is hit. It's pretty safe to say that as long as this game doesn't go to multiple overtimes, that the under's going to hit.
Yes.
And I need the Grand Canyon on the plus 6.5.
Ooh.
So Grand Canyon's at the free throw line right now with an opportunity to take the lead. 6.5 to go. My guy that I need 2 rebounds though is on the bench right now, currently with 4 fouls.
That let the play that music. Dun, dun, dun. Let the drama ensue. Well, 2Ks, it's top 5 time. And kind of the reason I went with this top 5 2Ks is for the vast majority of folks, I mean, it's a time to enjoy a cocktail or two, hang out with your buddies, or if you're just sitting alone in your basement and that's how you watch games, more power to you. Mm-hmm. Some folks go out to a bar and partake that way. I think the going out to the bar thing is kind of in the past in my life. Not to say that I won't do it ever again. But to sit at a bar all day and watch all these games, I think is a bad choice right now. Turbo at 25, fired up. Let's go. Turbo at 43. I don't think so. Yeah, I would be one of those guys falling asleep at the bar. But I have pulled my, open to close shift as a patron many times before. It's not a good thing when you eat lunch and dinner at the same bar.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could say it's an absolutely good thing because you're not driving multiple places. You're not being dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Not being dumb. But yeah, that's kind of the preamble here for the top 5, which pretty much your favorite alcoholic beverages, and we're going to tie it into the tournament while you're watching the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So 2Ks, what is your number 5?
Number 5. Number 5, I'm just gonna go with it'll be one I don't do a whole lot of, but every once in a while, I get into, I have these nights where I just like ripping shots, and it doesn't have to be any particular shot, but if I'm gonna just have a night where I sit around and just rip multiple shots, there's a good chance it's gonna be Fireball.
Now,
I'm not a fan of it, and I don't really like it, but it is a pretty easy shot.
Yeah.
And it seems like everywhere you go, whether you're, at your buddy's house, at my own house, like
everybody has
there's
some.
always Fireball sitting around. So
It's a staple.
it makes the list. I'm not proud of it, and I don't enjoy it, but it's one of those ones where, like, if things are going well and I'm hitting a lot of money, which I haven't had to worry about this weekend.
So the Fireball's been safe.
This Fireball is safe. There's
crib.
plenty at the house. But that makes the list at 5.
Now, hypothetically, when you are ripping shots and PD Pablo comes on,
I'm gonna fucking take that shirt off and spin it around like a helicopter.
Yeah.
I promise you that.
My boy. That's my boy. Number 4.
Number 4. I know all of them, but I don't. Number 4. Occasionally, now I like having these when I go to the bar a lot. Now I don't really necessarily mix them up at my house because it's just too much fucking work, and I don't want to do all that. But when I go to the bar, I normally always will order one old fashioned.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
So why mess with the prep for an old fashioned when you can rip some Fireball real quick?
Exactly. Yeah.
Number 3.
One of my really big time go to drinks. I won't be here the next couple of weeks because I'm heading down to Florida this week. When the weather gets really, really nice. So as I watch this college basketball next week in Florida, I will be sipping on some gin.
Sipping that gin and juice.
I do like it. I don't like gin a whole lot here in Michigan when it's cold out. I don't normally drink it. But when I get into the sun and it's hot out, I do like some gin when I'm sitting around the pool.
I have heard that gin is very refreshing when it is hot.
I agree.
I just can't. I can't stand the taste of it.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Oh, it's an acquired taste." Okay, but can't do it. Can't do it. Number 2, and this is kind of a cool list because you do tend to you have a more diverse drinking palate.
Yeah. I drink a lot of different things.
And I guess I do.
And I went with Fireball at 5 because that's always at the house or it's always at somebody's house. But if I had my option on ripping shots and I'm gonna take a lot of them, it's tequila all day long.
Mm-hmm.
All day long. I would take if I'm at the bar and somebody asks, "Hey, you want a shot?"
Yeah.
My first reaction is tequila. That's what I want all the time. Now,
traditionally, and this is just I'm going to say bad luck. 90% of the time, everyone's like, "Hey, Turbo, you want a shot?" Sure. What are we drinking? Not I'm asking that. What are we drinking?
Mm-hmm.
Give me 2 shots of Jameson.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. Okay. Well, let's before we move on to your number 2 and number 1 2Ks, let's get at Cody's here. Cody has number 5 Jaeger Bomb, number 4 Liquid Marijuana, number 3 Jack and Coke, number 2 I think you'll like Crown and Sprite, and a number 1 Woodford on the Rocks. It's a very diverse Cody for sure. Love it. Love it. Your number 2Ks.
Number 2, not necessarily my favorite again, but I drink it majority of the time, especially when I'm just watching games, chilling out. Miller Lite.
Mm-hmm.
Out of a fucking can. Man, you people that drink beer out
Or
of
on
a
tap.
bottle.
Or on
Yes,
tap.
yeah. At a bar,
Mm-hmm.
a draft, hands down. I mean, anytime I go out, it's always a draft.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm at my house, it's a fucking can. These people that drink beer out of a bottle, it drives me nuts.
The older I get, the more I'm with you.
Do not like it.
When
Never have.
when COVID was here and we couldn't go out, that first draft beer
Mm-hmm.
was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Was amazing. And number 1, 2Ks on your list of alcoholic drinks to consume while watching the basketball tournament is
number 1 is easy, and I know that you know it. Cody just mentioned it. Pretty much anytime you hang out with me, my go-to drink all the time is Crown and Sprite.
Mm-hmm.
All the time. 9 times out of 10 when I go out to a bar, that's what I lead off with. Some nights it turns into that's all I drink all night long, but a lot of times I'll drink Crown and Sprite and then I'll go into beer to kind of finish the night off, but I normally always start with Crown and Sprite. And if I'm sitting at my house, I have a cup of Crown and Sprite around me all the time. So yeah, that one's easy.
All right, my number 5. I like the Fireball play.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Fireball play, but for my number 5, I got to go tequila. Tequila and Fireball are very close as far as my preferences for shot,
mm-hmm.
because I am one of those weirdos that I like the taste of tequila. Thank you, Kevin Jack. Thank you, Jake Berg, for kind of pounding that in my head. And it really doesn't. It doesn't affect me as much as some taking shots of other stuff. And being a diabetic, has 0 carbs, which is even better. Number 4, we'll slide that Fireball right in there at number 4. You know, getting back to to yours. Do I rip shots often? No. But when you're out and about, it's just Fireball's an easy shot because most everyone will drink it whether they like it or not, and it's an easy buy, it's an easy drink. Got to go with it. Number 3, I'm gonna go margarita.
Mm-hmm.
Totally getting away from the whole diabetic thing that I just said because that is loaded with carbs. But again, still has the tequila aspect in it. Number 2, I'm gonna do a little twist on your Crown and Sprite. I'm gonna go a nice 7 and 7. And yes, I can tell the difference between 7 and Sprite.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that can't, I don't know what the hell you're actually like. Really? And then number 1, not a big shocker to anybody. Give me Bud Light.
Yeah.
I'm a beer drinker through and through. I do thoroughly enjoy bourbon and whiskey. However, that's when turbo gets ornery.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't need an ornery turbo. No one really does. Probably the 2 times I've gotten my ass beat in my life. Yep. Did I deserve both of them? Yep. And again, all three games are on a fucking timeout.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing? Get this figured out. This is stupid. Why? Well, 2K crew, that has been it. And for those of you that are watching on Facebook, I'm going to post this in the group, but we really need to get you guys and gals over to YouTube because we might not be able to go live within the group here soon. So I'm going to be hammering on that up until they actually pull the plug on it. It's still they're not really sure, but I will give everyone plenty of notice. So yeah, shoot on over there, give us a sub, give us a ring that bell so you can get notified every time we go live. In 2Ks, we've surpassed the 300 subscriber mark. We're officially at 301. Now last week when I said that, we were at 299. And on Monday, we went down to 297. So I guess mentioning how many subs you have, people leave, which I think is ridiculous. I just think
been our Caitlin Clark takes.
Yeah, I know, because yeah, we were such horrible people for celebrating something that she did. 2Ks, you fucking prick, you prick. But yeah, so that is in if you guys are interested in the hats are still for sale. We set up, I set up an Etsy store. Big shout out to Jeff Burton for purchasing the first one, and it should be delivered tomorrow, my dude. So keep an eye out for that. And the link for that is in the YouTube description and the Facebook description, as well as I did post, or I did comment it on this video. So take a look at that. They're $30. Don't think $30 is too bad of a price for a hat 2Ks, especially this day and age. I don't know if you've been to Lids lately.
Yeah.
MLB fitted hats like $50.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I will still buy them. I will still buy them. But 2K Crew, we'll get you out of here on that. We will see you next week, and hopefully I can wrangle in a replacement to sit in that stool over there where 2Ks is at, so we can keep this mojo rolling, get you up to date with all of the tourney information, and I'm assuming we're gonna have a lot to talk about with this Shohei stuff, because it is not going to end anytime soon. And hopefully Monday, which I have a very good feeling Monday is just going to be a complete cop-out and a waste of all of our time, and we really won't see or hear anything until these investigations bring stuff to light. So we will get you out of here on that. We will see you next week, and as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.